Hey everyone, Easy Mode here, and today I want to talk about the idea that's been floating around the WoW community, an official hardcore mode. Currently, hardcore mode is not an official mode in World of Warcraft. Instead, it is a player-created challenge that has gained popularity over the years. Basically, if a player dies, their character is permanently dead, and they must start over with a new character. It's a mode that's been popularized in games like Diablo and Path of Exile, and many WoW players have been asking for it to be added to the game. So, what makes hardcore mode so challenging? Well, imagine playing through the game without the safety net of being able to resurrect your character if you die.
Yes, so?
Without any milk.
Right this way. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Every fight becomes a life or death struggle, and every mistake could be your last. It forces you to play more cautiously and think more strategically about every encounter. It's a mode that rewards skill, patience, dedication, and it's not for the faint of heart. To add an additional level of challenge, many hardcore mode players also impose other restrictions on themselves, such as avoiding certain abilities or professions. There are even communities and guilds dedicated to hardcore mode, where players can share tips and strategies for surviving the game's challenges. However, there are some limitations to the current state of hardcore mode. For example, it is only available on a few select servers that the community has chosen to play on. Additionally, there are no in-game rewards or recognition for completing hardcore mode, which can make it less appealing to some players. Finally, because it is not an official mode, there are no systems in place to track progress or achievements for hardcore mode players. Now, imagine an official hardcore mode was added to World of Warcraft, which based on some leaked information, it seems very likely.
Current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys.
Anyways, how would it change the game? What new challenges and rewards would it bring? That's what we're going to explore in this video. More specifically, things I believe they should add to the game, and maybe even some aspects that could be added into a World of Warcraft Classic Plus. So moving forward, in no particular order, here's some things I'm hoping for. First off, one of the key decisions that Blizzard would need to make for an official World of Warcraft hardcore mode is what audience does it want to target, or how hard should it be, and does any balancing in the game need to occur? Currently, hardcore mode is a player-created challenge, and as such, it has a wide range of difficulty levels depending on how players approach it. Some players impose additional restrictions on themselves to make the mode more challenging, while others focus simply on completing the game without dying. If an official WoW HC mode were to be introduced, Blizzard would need to pick an audience and let it be known. Should it remain at the current difficulty level? Should it be easier, or should it be more challenging? Blizzard being Blizzard though, I would assume they want to make WoW HC appealing to a larger audience. That being said, if they go in that direction, I hope they still allow current WoW HC fans to play the game in an official capacity at the same difficulty it is currently at, or even at a more difficult one, whether that's through an achievement system or other means. The second thing I hope they change in the game is trading. One of the challenges of hardcore mode in WoW is that it prohibits trading between players, which can make it difficult for players to obtain necessary items for crafting. While this limitation is part of what makes the mode so challenging, it can also be frustrating, especially in an MMORPG which traditionally rewards collaboration and gives a sense of community. To address this issue, an official WoW HC mode could include a badge system that allows players to earn badges for completing certain tasks or achievements. These badges could then be used to purchase necessary crafting items from vendors in the game. For example, players could earn badges for killing certain bosses, completing dungeons, or performing specific actions in combat. The badges could then be used to purchase crafting materials or even gear from vendors, allowing players to progress even if they are unable to trade with other players. This badge system could add an extra layer of depth and strategy to the game, as players would need to carefully consider how to earn badges and which items to purchase with them. It could also provide an additional motivation for players to complete content and achieve specific goals, which could help keep the mode engaging and rewarding. That being said, I do think the badges should be fairly limited, and I definitely don't want any aspect of having to do dailies to earn badges either. Third, introduce a prestige system that rewards players for reaching certain milestones or potentially even restarting their character. I'm not sure to what degree a prestige mode should go or how difficult, but I don't think I would want to start at level 1 all over again unless I knew I had some sort of incredible XP boost. However, I think an interesting way of doing it would be to unlock hero classes like you currently do in Wrath of the Lich King Classic Hardcore. Currently, in Wrath of the Lich King Hardcore, you must sacrifice a 55 character to get a Death Knight. Maybe in an official WoW HC, a Death Knight class could be created by sacrificing a warrior or a paladin character at level 50. Similarly, a rogue or hunter could unlock the demon hunter class by sacrificing their character at level 50 to add to the challenge and make it more interesting. The process of unlocking these new classes could involve a questline that is both difficult and engaging. That, or maybe it needs to be something as simple as adding a very small talent tree on the side that you could put 5 points into. Maybe raids award a talent point that increases your character by a marginal amount. I don't know, maybe plus 2% stamina or a small new ability, something that would make you more powerful but not in any really incredible, significant way.
Okay, 2% increase in stealth when crouched under a full moon. Is that good?
Why on earth would you choose that?
Fourth thing I'd like to see added. One of the challenges an official WoW HC mode would have is Blizzard's customer support. In short, it's trash, and there's no way Blizzard would improve it for WoW HC.
It's my character. I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage. And then I pick up the trash can and I trash the guy on.
That being said, in the event that something goes wrong with the player's account or character, it would be incredibly frustrating for players to have their progress wiped out due to a technical issue, griefing, or other problem, especially for how time invested in the game is. A potential solution to this problem is to turn the HC mode into more of a roguelike experience. In a roguelike game, players start over from the beginning each time they die, but they retain some benefits or advantages that they earned during previous playthroughs. In the context of an official WoW HC mode, this can mean that players who reach certain milestones without dying would be able to start over at a higher level than they would normally be able to. For example, if a player reaches level 60 without dying, they could start a new character at level 40 with a mount, some gold, and maybe a few items from their previous character's inventory. This would make it easier for players to recover from a death while still maintaining the difficulty and challenge of the HC mode. It would also give players an incentive to keep playing even if they die, since they would still be able to retain some of the benefits they earned during their previous playthrough. However, maybe this takes away from the true accomplishment of WoW HC's 0 deaths. If you start at level 20 or 40 or whatever it is. Instead, maybe another way to make the HC mode more forgiving without compromising its challenge would be to introduce very specific heirloom gear that could be required in the event of your character death. Maybe something similar to how Rogue Legacy works. This gear could provide a significant boost to experience gain for a limited amount of time, making it easier for players to catch up to where they were before their character died. For example, a level 60 death could provide a set of heirloom gear that increases experience gain by 400% until level 40, at which point the percentage increase would no longer work. This would give players a way to make up for lost time without completely negating the consequences of dying. The gear would also be specific and limited, so it wouldn't be something that players could rely on all the time. Of course, the specific numbers and details would need to be balanced carefully to ensure the HC mode remains challenging and rewarding, but this idea could be an interesting way to provide a safety net for players without undermining the difficulty of the mode. Fifth on my list is mob tagging, something I've probably been the most frustrated with while playing WoW HC. Nothing like clearing an area with no one around only to have someone steal the mob while you're drinking or eating at the last second. So yeah, I think one of the biggest frustrations in WoW HC mode is when players need to complete a quest that requires them to kill a specific mob or boss. Currently, players need to tag the mob in order to get credit for the kill, which can lead to competition and waiting times.
Hands off! That shiny shirt, that's mine!
To alleviate this issue, a solution could be to have these mobs drop an item that is lootable by all players in a certain vicinity. This would allow all players who participated in the kill to receive credit for the quest, regardless of whether or not they were the ones who tagged the mob. For example, Goldtooth in Elwyn Forest could drop a bag containing Bernice's necklace that anyone could loot that was in proximity during his death, rather than just needing to kill him to get the item. This would encourage players to work together to take down these challenging enemies, rather than competing against each other for the kill. Of course, this change would require some quest reworking to ensure that the quests still maintain their difficulty and are all still satisfying to complete. However, this change could significantly improve the experience of playing HC mode, making it more cooperative and less frustrating. Sixth, fix the restriction on running dungeons multiple times. In a traditional MMO, running dungeon multiple times is a common practice for players to gear up and improve their characters. However, in HC mode, this is restricted to only one run per dungeon. To address this, allow players to run the dungeon up to 3 times, or some other limited amount with full rewards. However, after these 3 runs, the dungeon can still be run, but with limited rewards and experience gained. This gives players a little more leeway to gear up and progress through the game, run the dungeon, and enjoy the content without completely losing the challenge and hardcore aspect of the mode. Going along with this thought, there almost isn't any reason to make friends in HC, because 1, you can never group with them except for one dungeon, and 2, if they die it's unlikely you'll ever play with them again anyways. I believe this change would bring back some of the MMO elements that have been lost in HC. Running dungeons multiple times with increasing difficulty is a classic gameplay loop in MMOs that keeps players engaged and invested in the game and potentially leads to lasting friendships.
To fly, all you need is friendship.
7th, leaning more into the RPG aspect of WoW HC could enhance the overall experience. Limiting the use of certain abilities like Bubble Hearth or Soulstone, rather than completely eliminating them, could make players feel more invested in their core fantasy.
Peter, this doesn't seem safe. Yeah, I'm afraid I might. Wow, thanks, Spider-Man.
Everybody gets one. Tell him, Peter.
Apparently everybody gets one.
Bingo.
Limiting the use of these abilities to once per life could strike a balance between the two. It would allow players to use these abilities strategically without completely removing them from the game. This would also increase the importance of choosing a class and race that suits a player's playstyle. I would potentially go so far as to allow the use of a one-time use resurrection spells. They would need to be limited by the level, but something worth looking into. I think it's strange that people complain about certain abilities being used by classes. I've always thought that's what made the game fun and interesting. I think it sounds really cool that a warlock puts part of his soul into a soul gem to resurrect, just like Sauron from Lord of the Rings. I mean, balancing is more understandable in a PvP sense. I think rogues and mages are some of the most annoying classes in the game for PvP, but for PvE content and RPG aspects, I think design-wise, they're some of the best. Yes, this change is broken, but it's also an RPG. If hunters can feign death, rogues vanish, mages ice block, then why should other classes be limited? Besides, if anyone is going to complain about the use of certain abilities, it should be warriors. They have almost no utility for survival and are designed to be with other players, and the current setup for the game doesn't allow that. 8th, I believe the current achievement system of World of Warcraft HC can feel very tedious and sometimes even meaningless. Many of the achievements are either extremely difficult in a very artificial way or just plain annoying to complete. For an official WoW HC mode, the achievement system would need to be reworked to make it more meaningful and engaging for players. One approach could be to remove some of the more tedious and artificial achievements and replace them with more challenging and meaningful ones. For example, instead of requiring players to reach level 60 while zoomed in, an achievement could be to complete a certain number of challenging quests or defeat a particularly difficult boss without dying, like the Harger achievement that exists already. These kind of achievements would give players a real sense of accomplishment and something to strive for rather than just being a chore to complete. Another approach could be to make achievements tied to the overall progression of the player in the game. For example, completing a specific quest chain could reward players with an achievement that unlocks a powerful item or skill. This would give players a real sense of progression and accomplishment rather than just being a checklist of things to do. Overall, the achievement system would need to be reworked in order to provide more meaningful and engaging challenges for players. By doing so, the achievement system would become a key part of the HC mode experience, rather than just an afterthought. The 9th change and final bullet point is to eventually extend the game into WoW HC Plus, or if WoW Plus is introduced, to continue WoW HC alongside it. It would be really cool to get updated content and zones for the game, whether it's endgame content or even just more questing zones to complete the journey to 60 with. A side note to that is, it would be really amazing to have access to updated models and buildings, or to have them toggleable, kind of like the Master Chief Collection where you could go back and forth at will from the two. I think one of the greatest parts about retail is just the love and the craft that goes into all the assets, from the buildings to the mountains to all the characters. It looks great. As I've played WoW HC, I feel like much of what the game has been missing has been put back in the game. I really experienced a strong sense of nostalgia, or in short, that the world is alive and is bustling with activity. Almost no zone or area feels dead or inactive. Character progression and accomplishments matter. Heck, even just seeing a level 40 with their mount is impressive, let alone a level 60. I guess we'll see though. I'm really hoping Blizzard does something special for WoW HC, rather than just copy pasting it onto the server list.
Like, why can't Blizzard just put this in the game? Just like do a little copy paste, just oop. There it is, it's done. It's just real quick, man. Yeah, come on. Like
I also hope that if Blizzard does implement some needed changes, that they also have achievement systems in place that allow the WoW HC community to play something that more closely resembles how HC is currently played. One can dream, I guess. Well, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd also love to know your thoughts. Were these ideas bad, good, or they just need to be expanded upon? Are you currently playing WoW HC, or are you waiting for official servers to be released?